Okay, here's my mom. She will be my audience. And right now I'll be showing you guys a video about death penalty.
A capital crime, as you probably know, is an offense that is punishable by death. The term comes from the Latin word caput, which means head, and capital punishment originally meant literally losing your head. This controversial kind of punishment is still retained in 58 countries, while 102 countries have it but don't use it. 32 countries have abolished it altogether, with another 8 countries saving it for only special crimes. An example would be genocide. In most countries, it's saved for the most heinous of crimes, such as murder, war crimes, or crimes against humanity. But if we look at the ever-progressive side...
Okay, so have you guys ever wondered if the death penalty used by the government is a reasonable punishment in this modern age? The death penalty is the punishment of an execution on a criminal who commits serious crime like murder or an act of terrorism. And this is also a very controversial topic where people argue if the death penalty is fair or not. And to me, I think the death penalty is unfair. And right now I will be going over why I think the death penalty is unfair, and if it lowers the rate of crime, and if there are any alternatives to the death penalty. So according to Prentice Smith, an author from Shreveport Times, she said, "There is no doubt that innocent men have been executed, which is a tragedy and more than enough reasons to stop all executions in America. And what makes the death penalty different from life in prison is that it is not reversible." So I think that's extremely unfair because some innocent people are accused of crimes they did not commit, and they would have to pay with their lives for it. And also, the race of the person also plays a big role to determine who lives or who dies. And according to an article in 2020 called "Death Penalty Cases Show History of Racial Disparity," written by Colin Long, he said 295 black defendants were executed for killing a white victim, but only 21 white defendants were executed for killing a black victim. This report shows that it is more likely for black people to be sentenced to death than for white people being sentenced to death for killing each other. And I think this is a disadvantage for black people because I don't think they should be judged by their color, and I think everyone should be treated equally. And the death penalty can also be used as an act of control instead of justice, because some governments do not care about justice and care more about power and gaining control over society. So the next question is, does the death penalty lower the rate of crimes? According to an article in 2014 called "There is Still No Evidence That Execution Deter Criminals," written by Max Ehrenford, he said there are reasons to doubt that criminals would change their behaviors to avoid the risk of executions. And I also found another article called "There is No Evidence That Death Penalty is a Deterrent Against Crime," written by John Donahue. And he said there is not the slightest credible statistical evidence that capital punishment reduces the rate of homicide. Research suggests that criminals are mainly concerned about whether they'll be caught or not, instead of what would happen after they would be caught. So I think that it is the fear of something that would happen to them that would lower the rate of crime, rather than the severity of the consequences. So I found this chart on deathpenaltyinfo.org that compares the murder rates in states with death penalties and states that don't have death penalties. And in the red is the states that have death penalties, and the blue is the states that do not have death penalties. And as you can see, the murder rates in the states with death penalty is obviously higher than the one in the states with no death penalties. And the final question is there any alternative to the death penalty? And I found this article called Alternatives to Death Penalty in 2011, written by Desert News, that says life without the possibility of parole is the best alternative to the death penalty. And I agree with this because I think the death penalty is wrong because there's no going back, because once you're dead, you stay dead. And also, with this, it would punish the criminal and protect the society from them. And in conclusion, I have explained why I think the death penalty is unfair. I explained how the death penalty doesn't really lower the rate of crime, and I showed that there are alternatives to death penalties. And the world would still be a safer place with criminals in prison for life rather than killing the criminals. And the death penalty serves as an act of punishment, but it doesn't lower the rate of crime or serve justice like you think. And the death penalty has been around for many years now, and as you can see, it is not a very effective way to control the crime. So it is up to you and me to do something about it.